Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports. I'm CJ Tully, and we have lots to talk about here within the MLB. Let's talk about it. Hope everybody's doing well on this Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day today when everything will be coming out. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the weather. I know around here it's been pretty rainy, but want to get into a lot that's been going on in the MLB, as well as some of the awards that I think we should start really looking at. Starting off here with the AL and the NL Rookie of the Year. We may just have one of the best rookie classes we've had in a long time, maybe of all time if things all pan out as we may think they will. Starting off here with some of the bats in the American League, Munetaka Murakami has to be your overall favorite here. He has come on the scene in a big way this year, and he's well surpassed anything that I thought he could have done this year. I was a little skeptical with him coming over. Everybody saying there are certain pitches he wasn't going to be able to hit, that his play from the Japanese League wasn't going to translate over to the MLB. But here we are, and he's hitting .235, but 17 home runs, 36 RBIs with a .906 OPS. And for me as a Phillies fan, the best comparison I could give him is a Kyle Schwarber. You might not always get the best average, but you're going to get that pop and you're going to get that on-base percentage. I believe he walked in 5 straight games at one point this season. Pitchers are definitely pitching around him already, and for a White Sox team that needed some juice, Munetaka Murakami has certainly been that here for this team, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. I hope it continues. I hope to see him in the home run derby. I think that would be big for the White Sox just as a fan base and as an organization to see one of their players start to take that next step. So Munetaka Murakami has to be by far your favorite for the AL Rookie of the Year, and that's not something I thought I'd be saying before the year had begun. Now, with Munetaka Murakami, I also want to mention that I'll be honest, I was somebody who thought that he might get traded at the deadline. I thought they only signed him on that 2-year contract just to bring him into America, into the MLB, let everybody see what he has, kind of use it as a Luis Robert, even though they waited way too long to get rid of him, but somebody that they could dangle out there as a trade prospect, somebody that other teams, competing teams, would want as a power bat at the deadline. But for me, I think they're going to be holding on to him, and I think he could be a bright star in the future for this team. Now, 2 other contenders here for the AL Rookie of the Year we haven't really seen all do too much of late. Now, Kevin McGonigal, he's hitting .281 this season, a .798 OPS, 3 home runs, and 17 RBIs there for the Detroit Tigers. I'm going to get into a little bit more about what the Detroit Tigers have been doing of late later in this episode, but long story short, they haven't been playing well, and Kevin McGonigal hasn't really played well either. So Kevin McGonigal, a great start to the season. He's been a local guy from where I'm at here in Pennsylvania, so it's been a cool story for him. I don't see him making that push this season. Again, with the team not playing well, it's going to be hard for him to carry that team to really boost his own stats if the team's not getting it done. So that's Kevin McGonigal. And then, of course, you have Chase DeLauder, and he was big in the beginning of the season. It looked like he was going to run away with this thing. This season now, .261 average, a .798 OPS, 7 home runs with 30 RBIs. But again, a lot of this coming in those first 2 weeks of the MLB season. So it's been a rough stretch of late for him. I don't see him picking it back up to a point where he could compete for the Rookie of the Year. I do think Munetaka Murakami is going to be the one to run away with it here in the AL. So definitely keep an eye on him. I think it's going to be a fun watch for the remainder of the season, as well as the fact that you've been seeing the White Sox compete here within this Central Division. They're currently sitting second at 500, 4.5 games back of the lead of the division. So I think you could definitely see the White Sox compete, and a lot of this is going to fall on the shoulders of Munetaka Murakami. Can he be clutch? Can he be the power bat coming down the stretch? I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Moving over, though, to the NL side of things, this is where the race is really going to be on, and it's all taking place within the NL Central, which who would have thought that would be the conversation we'd be having here early in 2026, was that the NL Central has the best young stars in baseball. Starting off here with J.J. Weatherholt. He's hitting .237, a .758 OPS, 9 home runs, and 25 RBIs there for the Cardinals. He's another guy I was not really looking at coming into the season, but he has taken off, and it has been a lot of fun to watch here for this Cardinals team, as the Cardinals as a whole have really competed this season, and they've made this an interesting division. The Cardinals are not a team you thought would be competing this year. You saw what they'd been doing in the past few years. You get rid of Nolan Arenado. You trade Paul Goldschmidt a few years ago. But here you are now with a very competitive team. You have Jordan Walker playing out of his mind, and J.J. Weatherholt has been great on the defensive end of things, and he's been getting it done at the plate as well. Moving on now to my favorite in this conversation is Sal Stewart. He's hitting .256, 839 OPS, 12 home runs, 34 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases. This Reds team, much like the Cardinals, has surprised a lot of people, and Sal Stewart has been the brightest spot here for this Reds team, getting it done in pretty much every series they've been in this year. He has not fallen off like a lot of these other Rookie of the Year contenders have. You've seen him be productive. You've seen him be consistent. And he just had a big series against the Phillies as well. And that was a huge series there for the Reds to continue to try and stay within this NL Central race. So Sal Stewart, I think, is going to be the one to pull away here with the Rookie of the Year. Moving on, though, to the final contender here is Connor Griffin. And I love Connor Griffin. He's my favorite young star in baseball. Had a very slow start, and this is something that we would have expected when he got called up. We saw what he did in spring training. He was very streaky. He was either hitting for crazy power, getting on base, or absolutely doing nothing and striking out crazy. I believe he had 47 strikeouts in spring training alone. So this season now hitting 266, a 714 OPS, 3 home runs, 20 RBIs with 12 stolen bases. Now, in the past few weeks, we've seen a whole new Connor Griffin. This is one of his bright spots. When he's going well, everything is going well for Connor Griffin, and that is what we have seen of late with this Pirates team. I love Connor Griffin. I hope he is the one to win it, but I think with the consistency that we have seen, and again, it has to continue through the second half of the year as well, I do think Sal Stewart will be the one to take over the NL Rookie of the Year. But again, we'd love to see Connor Griffin do it. I think he's been a huge piece of what this team has been able to put together in Pittsburgh, and I'd love to see him be able to take this away. Moving on now to a whole nother race we have going on here within the NL. I do want to talk about the Cy Young. Now, in the AL, it's not much of a competition right now. Cam Schlittler is running away with it with Skubal and all of the injuries going to starting pitching here. Garrett Crochet dealing with injury. You're not really going to have much competition here. I believe after Cam Schlittler on the odds, he's just running away with it. So that's why I want to focus more here on the NL because it is more of a race than you would see there in the AL. Starting off with Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. I believe he was a snub last year for the All-Star game. And I believe he was a snub for the Cy Young as well. You could definitely make a case for Christopher Sanchez over the past few years as one of the best pitchers in baseball. This year, 5-2 with a 1.62 ERA, 72 innings pitched with 86 strikeouts. Christopher Sanchez has been absolutely lights out. I actually got to go to watch his game last Friday night. Just absolutely lights out through 8 innings of work. They did not put him in the 9th. Ended up blowing the game was Johan Duran, but Christopher Sanchez absolutely lights out. He's been a huge part of this Phillies team. They extend him, I believe it was a 6-year contract this past offseason. Love what he's been able to bring to this team, and I think Christopher Sanchez should be the favorite for the National League Rookie or Cy Young. Moving on now to Paul Skeens, another guy who's going to be in contention, won it last year. 6-4 this year with a 3 ERA, 60 innings pitched and 65 strikeouts. My fear with Paul Skeens this year is he's not going to have the innings. He's definitely been pulled out a lot earlier than would have expected. Went to a Pirates game earlier this year. There was a rain delay, which led him to just having 4 innings pitched. Even in those 4 innings, he was kind of getting hit around by the Rays. But I do think you can never count Paul Skeens out. Again, not necessarily the year you wanted to see. He's been getting that ERA down, but I do feel like he's letting up a lot of earned runs so far this season. You saw a really bad start against the Mets early this season. You saw his past few starts haven't been all that great either. I know fantasy just got me -5 points. So Paul Skeens has not necessarily been the same guy. Maybe teams are starting to figure him out. Again, I'm not going to put anything past Paul Skeens. He's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitchers in baseball. But it necessarily hasn't been the best year of Paul Skeens. I don't think this is the year for Cy Young. And then you have Jacob Mizorowski, 4-2 this season with a 1.89 ERA, 57 innings pitched with 88 strikeouts. I am not a huge Mizorowski fan. I'll put that out there now. The kid has played great, though. You can't look past that. I don't think this is Mizorowski's year, though. I do think he's young, and he might pick something up at some point in his career. But I do think, again, you have to look at the runaway favorite here as Christopher Sanchez. Shohei Ohtani can be put in that conversation as well. I believe he has a .89 ERA or something like that, but the innings aren't there. He's going just 6 innings max. The strikeouts have kind of been there. Not necessarily the best numbers you want to see, but I don't think Shohei Ohtani will win this Cy Young. I think, if anything, you're looking at the MVP yet again for him. But I wouldn't even say the hitting's all that great this year for Ohtani. It's been a weird year for Shohei Ohtani. I don't feel like he's necessarily been the biggest topic of conversations. Again, he's been playing well on the mound, not letting up runs, but the innings aren't there. You're using a lot of bullpen in the back end of Shohei Ohtani starts, so we'll see what happens with that. But that'll do it for the awards part of this episode. I do want to get into breaking down some teams because we've had some weird streakiness going on with some of the bigger names in baseball right now. Starting off here with the Philadelphia Phillies. Like I said, I was at the game on Friday night, and you're just not seeing the same energy from this Phillies team. Now, when Don Mattingly came over, everything changed. This team went on a 15-4 run. But now we're starting to see them slow it down. They're starting to look like the Rob Thompson ran Phillies yet again. And yes, you're going to get that early juice, and things are going to come back down to reality at some point. But right now, I mean, they just had a homestand of 6 games. They won just 2 of those games. They had 14 runs total within those 6 games. In the last 7 games, Kyle Schwarber hitting just 167, 0 RBIs with 8 strikeouts. He has not looked the same. He was dealing with a stomach issue, I believe. So he missed a few games. But again, Kyle Schwarber, if he's not hitting for power, you're not getting too much out of him right now. And when you look at Kyle Schwarber, he had to be signed this year. I do agree. You had to sign him this year. He signed a 5-year contract because this Phillies team without the RBI numbers would not be the Philadelphia Phillies competing for a possible wildcard spot at this point. Kyle Schwarber's RBI production is what carries this team. This is why I thought he could have been MVP last year, because you took Kyle Schwarber off this team suffers tremendously at the plate, and we're seeing it right now. With him not performing well, the team is not performing well. Bryce Harper hitting 200 with just 2 RBIs in the last 7. Dolis Garcia has been an abysmal addition to this team. Now, he has a cannon in the outfield. I'll give him that. His defensive play has definitely been there. I would say that's an upgrade from Nick Castellanos, but a .59 average in the last 7 games, 2 RBIs with 9 strikeouts. He's supposed to be that four hitter. He's supposed to be the go-to guy, and you've had to move him down and light up multiple times this season. His production at the plate has not been there. You're paying him league minimum. I believe it's $10 million is what we're paying him as a vet. So you didn't pay a crazy amount for a one-year deal, but he's not the productive piece that you needed. He's kind of looking like a Max Kepler. He's kind of looking like these other guys that the Phillies have brought in, like a Whit Merrifield, where they thought they'd be this quick fix, and they're just not, and you haven't brought in that big power bat. Trey Turner, 136 average in the last 7 with a home run being his only RBI with 7 strikeouts. And Trey Turner, I feel like gets a free pass every year here with the Phillies. He has not had that big year. Last year, he won a batting title. Could not tell you how, because every Phillies game I watched, he was not coming up in the clutch. He was not performing in those big moments. And to me, that's what makes the difference. Not what you're doing in a blowout, not what you're doing behind the scenes. It's, to me, what are you doing in the biggest moments? And Trey Turner has not been that for the Phillies. You have Kyle Schwarber hitting behind him now this year, and if you're getting on base, you're going to see Kyle Schwarber bring more RBI numbers to the team. But Trey Turner has struggled at the plate. He's swinging at pitches that are absolutely horrible. I know in yesterday's game, he was 3-0 count, and he swung at 2 balls that were right past him. I mean, horrible Trey Turner play right now. We definitely need to see him step it up. I just don't think he's the same player, and he's been declining pretty much every year of his career. The Phillies brought him in hoping something would change, and we just have not yet seen that. So now we can look at where the Phillies may go at the trade deadline, because to me, this is very interesting. I want to start off by looking at Mike Trout. Now, I know this is a long shot, but I've been delusional. I've talked myself into this, that the Phillies getting Mike Trout would be the perfect solution to what this team needs right now. 11 home runs this season. He's hitting in the mid-200s. The OPS numbers are there, and he's not injured, knock on wood. But that is the biggest thing with Mike Trout, is that he is healthy. He would be the perfect 4-hole hitter here for this Phillies team. He does not have to do too much. Come in here, you get a few home runs, you can knock a few guys in. You're going to have Bryce Harper then having a great bat behind him, to where Bryce Harper will then have to see some pitches. And I think it's the perfect fix here for this Phillies team. You look at the way the contracts are structured. His contract with the Angels ends in 2030. That's around the time a lot of this Phillies veteran core is going to be out of here as well. You're not going to win anything with the Angels. I know he wants to hold the pride of being with the same team, but at some point you have to look at your career as a whole. Come back to Philly. Make this something special. And again, the Phillies need to get over the hump and win the World Series. Mike Trout needs to get over the hump and win a World Series in his career. This is the perfect marriage. He wants to come to Philadelphia. This would be absolutely perfect for this Phillies team and for Mike Trout on the other side of things. I think we can give up some prospects, and that goes into my next issue here with the Phillies, is the pitching. Andrew Painter was held on to last year at the deadline, and every year pretty much at the deadline, because I thought he was going to do this next big thing. And I'd warned everybody before the year, I didn't think he was going to be all that, coming off Tommy John, and I just didn't think he was going to have the arsenal that could translate over. I covered the Iron Pigs last year, the Phillies minor league team, and he was going just about 4 or 5 innings, allowing 4 to 6 runs per game. It was nothing spectacular. And there was a trade, I believe, in place last year where you could have gotten Stephen Kwan. Now, Stephen Kwan's playing horrible this year, but he would have been a good piece there for the Phillies at the deadline last year, and all it would have taken was Andrew Painter. So I think they've overvalued Andrew Painter on this team right now. He's 1-5. Nothing crazy right now. He has a 5.40 ERA. Yes, he's got better in the last few games, but nothing crazy. Just 40 strikeouts on the season. He's let up 7 home runs. And you can look at the same guy, and I hope it's not his mentor, and Aaron Nola, who's also been horrible this season. A 2-4 record, 6 ERA, 9 home runs allowed, and 51 strikeouts. Now, for me, Aaron Nola and Andrew Painter cannot be your pitchers going in the back end of a series throughout the playoffs. So, as I mentioned, the outfield help would be huge with Mike Trout for the Phillies, and the lineup help. I think the Phillies could be looking at a starting pitcher here at the trade deadline. It would be perfect fit right now for this Phillies team. The 2 names that stand out to me most that could be traded are Sandy Alcantara and Joe Ryan. Those could be guys. I believe there were talks a few years ago about Joe Ryan coming to the Phillies. Now, nothing crazy, but I believe there were some rumors that that was a possibility. So maybe those rumors spark back up. I know Tariq Skubal might be on the deadline, the trade deadline moves. So I don't think the Phillies necessarily bring him in, because you have a lot of pitching or money already designated to pitching in the next few years. But I do think if the Phillies could bring in a pitcher, a starting pitcher, that would help this team out tremendously. You can move Painter to the bullpen if needed. But I do think you're going to need another reliable arm when it comes down the stretch here. I don't think you can rely on Aaron Nola and Andrew Painter when it comes down to the stretch here. Like I said, the Phillies are now 10 games back in the division, 3 out of the wild card. Like I said, they've made up a lot of ground. It's just the Braves are playing out of their minds right now. It's absolutely incredible. And then this wild card is going to be interesting because of how well the NL Central is playing. That's not something you would have expected to really be a contender here in this race for the wild card. And you can even look at the San Diego Padres. They're going to be a lock for a wild card spot. So you're really fighting for the final 2 spots. I expect 2 or 3 NL Central teams to make it here. So that's really going to be the struggle for the Phillies. We'll see what happens with all of that. But I think there's some big moves that they can make at the deadline that would make a big difference in all of this coming down the stretch. Next team I want to talk about here are the Detroit Tigers, who are slumping very bad right now. They lost 2 of 3 to the Orioles, and the Orioles have been playing horrible. I just made a whole breakdown of that. You can check that out, the last video on YouTube. But they just snapped an 8-game losing streak by winning the second game of a doubleheader against the Orioles. That was their one win in that series. They have now lost 5 straight series, or sorry, that's what we'll get to in a minute. They've not lost 5 straight series, but they've lost 8 straight games. The pitching woes have been the biggest issue here with this Tigers team. Framber Valdez, they bring him in here this year on a 3-year, $115 million deal. He's just 2-3 with a 4.28 ERA. Not the Framber Valdez we were hoping to see coming over to this Tigers when this rotation was going to be insane. Same with Justin Verlander. He comes over this year and gets hurt very early. Now, again, that was kind of just a send-off kind of tour here for Justin Verlander. He wasn't going to be the difference maker, but even that hurting this rotation. Jack Flaherty, 0-6 this season with a 5.94 ERA. You never thought you'd see that out of Jack Flaherty. He's been a solid pitcher, not a great pitcher, solid pitcher his entire career. Casey Mize, 2-3 with a 2.47 ERA. Not horrible for him, but again, the team's not winning, so the record's not going to look all that great for him. And then Tariq Skubal, before he got injured, he was 2-3. He was 3-2 with a 2.07 ERA. So Tariq Skubal, obviously not bad, but now the conversation comes back to, is it worth the Tigers bringing him back? He had some loose bodies in his left elbow, which has kept him out. Do they bring him back to pitch this season and kind of risk him getting injured? Does he want to come back this season and risk getting re-injured before getting probably moved by the end of the season? I don't think he's going to re-sign with the Tigers. Can the Tigers trade him? Yes, there's been a lot of rumors of teams that are interested in him. I know the Dodgers are going to be at the top of that list. You had the Cubs interested. Some other teams. I think it'd be great for the Orioles, in my opinion. I think that'd be a perfect move for both squads to be able to bring him over. You could probably get some young talent from the Orioles back in return, and the Orioles need some pitching. But will Tariq Skubal come back and pitch this year for the Tigers? Now, you can look at it as he comes back, pitches for the Tigers, and then they can trade him. And it looks good for him that he came back healthy and was able to pitch. Teams in the future don't have to worry about that. Or did they try and move him or sit him out the rest of the season so that doesn't hurt his value and so he doesn't hurt his own value? I think that's a very interesting conversation that will be had there between Skubal and the Tigers. He'll obviously want to come back. I lost my respect for him with the way he pitched for Team USA. He only wanted to pitch one game, and now you're missing the entire season pretty much anyway. I think there were some issues I had with that, but overall, Tariq Skubal and this pitching woes for this Tigers team have certainly hurt them. They should have been sweeping this division, and they're certainly not doing so at this time. And that goes all back to Kevin McGonigal not playing well. Riley Green hasn't played all that well of late. Dylan Dingler hasn't played all that great of late. A lot of your biggest names just have not been getting it going of late. Moving on to the final team I want to talk about here, and this is the team that has lost 5 series in a row, and that's the Chicago Cubs. This is the Cubs team that I have winning the World Series this year. I had that from the beginning of the season. The pitching injuries have been a huge detriment to this team, and as well as your additions not necessarily making the biggest impact, such as Alex Bregman. They are on an 8-game losing streak right now. They're still sitting second place within the Central, but again, they're coming off a weekend sweep of the Astros, or being swept by the Astros this past weekend, and we know the Astros have been absolutely horrible this season. Edward Cabrera was also recently announced of going to the IL. He was 3-2 with a 4 ERA this season. He came over from Miami, and he was finally starting to get on a little bit of a roll there with the Cubs, and now he's on the IL. You also have some other players on the IL here in the pitching staff for the Cubs, such as Justin Steele, Matthew Boyd, and Cade Horton. Some big names are missing there for this rotation. And like I said, in the last 7 games, in the last 8 games really, for this losing streak, the players have just not been there. Nico Horner started off the year phenomenal. He could have been a possible MVP, a 190 average in his last 7 games. Alex Bregman, you brought him over here from the Red Sox. I loved that addition. I thought with the loss of Kyle Tucker, you'd have Alex Bregman filling in well here. He's just hitting 179 within the last 7 games. Seiya Suzuki, 190 average. The pop has not really been there this year. He had a stretch of a few home runs in a row in a few different games, but besides from that, it just really hasn't been the same player. And PCA, a 167 average in his last 7 games. We know what his bickering with the fans has been and how he felt bad about that, but you look at the grand scheme here of the Cubs, I still think they're going to be fine. The pitching is really what scares me, and that's where maybe Tariq Skubal will come over here to the Cubs. I do think they're going to be a team that's going to be looking for some starting pitching at the deadline as well. Injuries are killing them. Shota Umunga's had a nice year, though, for the Cubs, so that's a bright spot for them. But lots to worry about here if you are the Cubs. I do think they'll turn it around. They'll be competitors, but the way the team is playing right now, you need a quick fix, and you need to turn this around. But you guys can always check me out on social media, on TikTok and Instagram at Let's Talk Sports. You can subscribe here on YouTube and Spotify at Let's Talk Sports as well. And then on my website at letstalksports.com, everything will be there for you guys to find. Happy Memorial Day again. I'm going to be doing more long format videos like this, so stay tuned for a lot of those. And thanks to all the men and women who put their lives on the line every day.